evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Disney Dialogues. I'm excited about tonight. Our guest is phenomenal. We've been promoting him for weeks. Rob's going to be joining me in just a couple of minutes. As you see, box number one over there is empty tonight. I'm having a little bit of trouble with my eCam system tonight. So, unfortunately, I can't get Jen on the screen, but she'll be backstage helping me with a little bit of stuff. And I appreciate her support. So, we're going to run through with the interview. Rob's ready, and I'm excited. And I hope you guys are excited as well. So many good people in the chat already. I see Fred and Zippity Doo Doug, and I see Sierra's here, Julie's here, Mandy Mary's here, David T's in the house already, Mr. Thibodeau is in the house, Rob, aka from the UK. We got the whole world watching tonight. I love it. Share it out, let everybody know. I tell you what, guys, this is special tonight as we're going to talk about all of the charismatic joy that this gentleman brings to our community. Take a look at some of his work here. I wanted to share it with you guys a little bit before we started, so you could get a look into. Here's some of the Star Wars. This is just a couple pieces. I mean, that Luke and Boba Fett, from over at the pit is unbelievable. The Falcon there, Mando right there. Mando's huge, an absolutely incredible piece right there. His historical figures, Lincoln, Martin Luther King, JFK, the touches of his hands onto this canvas to create these is so special. T. Marie, welcome in. Katie Y, welcome in. The mayor's here. Hello, Mayor. Good to see you. Debbie Bernfeld as well. Take a look as the Raiders, this Raiders piece, when I saw it, I was like, that has to be a picture. There's no way that's not just a picture, but it's not. It's beautiful, incredible art. The Lord Almighty, our Savior Christ, right there is incredible. Some of the work that Rob does with his speed painting down there at the bottom with Steve and Tyler. I mean, that's just spectacular. The colors, it just pops right off the screen. Absolutely beautiful. More to give you. LeBron James. There, Simone Biles. And as much as I love it, I know T. Marie is really happy seeing TB12 up there. Yes, it is TB12. I'm respecting and honoring the great one. That's an amazing piece. I actually just got to see that live a few seconds ago. Here, look at the Iron Man piece. I saw his Iron Man work down in Florida when I was down for the festival, and there were so many people just walking up going, oh my God, wow. And I just had to pull him over there. Of course, everybody loves The Rock. Well, at least almost everybody does. And the Statue of Liberty piece is just beautiful, just absolutely gorgeous here. And one last thing to bring this in, I could be remiss if I didn't bring in the work that goes into some of his Disney art. We're going to talk more about this here in just a little bit. So with all that done, let me do the opening here and the introduction for our guest, because I want to get Rob in. So many good people in here tonight. We're going to have one of these special nights here on the channel. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest tonight comes in to us with more accolades and global recognition than you could possibly just cover in an hour, but we're going to do our best. Rob has created custom paintings for a remarkable list of celebrities, including Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jay Leno, President Barack Obama, and Beyoncé, just to name a few. Rob has appeared on some of the most iconic television shows of our lifetime, including The Today Show, Good Morning America, The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, and of course, with the queen of afternoon TV herself, Miss Oprah Winfrey. Additionally, Rob has been invited to Sesame Street not once, but twice as a special guest, and has also appeared or worked with Bravo's Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. Our guest's artwork has been recognized by Disney as that of a top-tier master fine artist, a prestigious honor that is truly second to none. Rob is the 3-year featured artist at the Epcot International Festival of the Arts, and he's already hard work preparing some submissions for a potential at the 2026 Star Wars celebration. Would love to get out there. That's amazing. In just a few minutes, you're going to see how our guest is not only an extraordinary artist, but also a compassionate humanitarian, especially when it comes to sharing his passion for the art with others and inspiring our youth through his many school show visits. Our guest has often been described as having a rare combination of kindness, extraordinary talent, and boundless energy, and that is for sure. If you've watched his videos, which we'll highlight tonight, you'll get to know that. Our guests will be featured tonight through the chat, everybody. The moderators will be dropping links in for all of his social media. Really want to help get his YouTube channel up. Debbie just dropped that link right now. So please, as you're watching the interview and you find this man as inspiring and as intriguing as Jen and I both did, please do me a favor, hit that subscribe and give him a follow. Matt Simba too. Good to see you, buddy. Let's load up his internet, all his internet and all his social medias tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is my honor to bring in Mr. Rob Surette to the show. Rob, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing awesome. This is going to be great. Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Well, we always like to sit down with our artists. I should let everybody know because Tina will make sure that she wants me to let everybody know that Rob is very proudly from the Massachusetts area. We have a lot of a lot of our friends that are from up that way, the New England area, all in told. So I'm glad that you're joining us here tonight. I do it. Let's open things up simply by, hey, how about a simple introduction? Might have some friends that are meeting you for the first time, coming across you. Before we get into your artwork and your all the different shows and everything you do, just a little general thing about yourself and your background.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm 53 years old. So I grew up in the perfect era of Sesame Street, Star Wars, Muppets. And I just thought to myself, man, I was always artistic. I said,
Hmm.
man, if I could ever work for Disney or Star Wars. And my third grade teacher said, we're going to have a bravery test. Write down what your dream job would be. So I wrote
Right.
down Disney artist. I'm like, don't tell anyone. They're going to say it's impossible. She's like, don't ever give up on that most amazing dream. So
Hmm.
here now I'm painting for Disney and Star Wars. And I had to look my third grade teacher up at a nursing home when I got named a Disney artist. And I wanted to thank her for believing in me.
That's a great story. That's absolutely fantastic. See, you never know when that little influence from some of the simplest thing and teachers are a mainstay. And I love that we're going to talk how much you give back to teachers and to school in just a little bit. So let's start over here, Rob. And just so everybody knows, as we're talking through tonight, you're going to see a lot of Rob's artwork up on the screen as we go through and talking with him tonight. You can take a look right now. You see the Wonder Woman and the Kobe, which is just absolutely sick. Is the best way that I could put that. That Kobe, when I came across it, is gorgeous. But as we go through tonight here, and I'm going to move some things around, we are going to showcase a lot of Rob's art and the different pieces that are around there. So as I go into my next question, there's a picture of you with Sesame Street, and wow, the Piano Man himself. That's pretty incredible. Rob, artists all have influences that shaped our lives and artistic journeys. You mentioned your third grade teacher there. I understand also your grandfather played a significant role in your life. Could you share the story behind his influence and how it impacted your path?
Yeah, it was both my grandparents. They
Okay.
lived upstairs. So, I mean, all four of my grandparents were amazing, but my two grandparents who lived upstairs, I mean, I saw them every single day. So, my grandfather would draw as a hobby, and I was 3 years old, and I would watch him. He
Okay.
didn't teach me, but I would watch him. I'm like, that's the most magical thing I ever saw. How do you do that? I mean, I'm 3 years old, right? So I'd go
Right.
downstairs and I would try to draw also. And then my grandmother was just always the cheerleader of us grandkids.
Okay.
So between the two of them, I mean, it was just amazing. So again, even with that third grade teacher, she said at the beginning of the year, if you have anything creative you want to share with the class, let me know and I'll make time. If you want to sing, you want to dance, you want to do a poem. She says, you
Right.
want to do a puppet show? And I'm like, puppet show? So my mom made me a little panda bear puppet, and I did puppet shows like the whole third grade year. I put like so much energy. She started inviting other classes to come see like my puppet shows.
Wow.
So she was a huge influence. That whole year was like it just opened up my creative juices again with my grandparents upstairs. And there was a TV show on in the Boston area called the host was Captain Bob,
Captain
and at
Bob.
like 6:30 Saturday morning, I would get up and I would follow. He would teach you how to draw an animal in half an hour. No VCRs back then, right? So you couldn't
No.
pause. So it's kind of like you had to be really savvy to keep up with him.
Right.
And then I thought to myself, I'm surrounded by so much inspiration. My grandparents, my teacher, my parents, my family, Captain Bob, Jim Henson and, Muppets, Sesame Street. then first grade was, Star Wars Episode 4, 1977.
1977?
And then, of course, yeah, and then it was like the golden age of video games. I have some of my favorite arcade games right here, like Pac-Man, and
Very nice.
I was just the perfect age of like all this creative mania. I'm like, I want to be a part of it.
I love it. So just step outside our plan for a second, because I'll do that from time to time. So with doing puppets so early in your life, and I could see the joy on your face when you were telling that story. Was it overwhelming to go to Sesame Street and, that was something that you started with, and here you are at the iconic area of where the mayhem is when it comes to puppetry?
Well, the reason I got invited to Sesame Street is because when I meet my favorite celebrities, every chance I get, I bring them a piece of artwork, which I give them for free as just as a thank you. So I
Very
have
nice.
scores of examples, but every single time they think I want them to sign it and then I take it and sell it. So I surprised them all. I said, "No, this is a gift for you. I just want to say thank you." It's usually an original painting,
Right?
and whenever I heard at this celebrity forum I was going to meet the puppeteer of Big Bird and Oscar, his name is Carol Spinney, I
Uh-huh.
said, I'm going to do uh, a painting of Big Bird
Big
because,
Bird.
again, when I was like 1 and 2 and 3, I didn't care so much about the humans on Sesame Street, but it was the puppets. It was the imagination. It was just, it stimulated that right side of the brain. I was in that fantasy world. I'm like, I want to go there one day. So
I love that.
when I brought the Big Bird painting to Carol Spinney, he and his wife both apologized after the fact because they sized me up and they rolled their eyes and said, "Okay, here's someone who just wants to make a buck."
Right.
They thought I was going to ask him to sign it and then I was going to take it. I said, "Oh no, this is for you." I said, "It's a thank you for
For everything.
inspiring me so much as a kid."
I
And
love that.
he got tears in his eyes and he invited me to Sesame Street and he got his hands on his knees and he said to my two little kids, "Would you like to go in Oscar's trash can? Would you like to go in Big Bird's nest?"
Oh my
So
lord.
I became very close friends. I went to his house twice. He passed away a couple years ago, but yet to go to Sesame Street, my wife and I are like, we can't believe we're here. It's
Right.
real. It's
It's real.
real.
God, I see that, and this is why we love Jen and I love to do these things, because we call it peeling back the onion, and you learn so many great things. And that's absolutely spectacular. Debbie's dropping links in for Rob for all night. Let's load up. You won't believe the videos that are available on his YouTube page, and he's working toward getting toward 1,000 guys. So let's jump that number up by the end of the night. Well, in recent conversations, Rob, you shared a unique and thoughtful perspective on where you find inspiration for your artwork and paintings and kind of how you rank them. Would you mind sharing that outlook with our audience tonight?
Yeah, well, as you can see from the pictures, I've been visiting schools for 31 years with a speed painting school assembly. So I go to 5 different schools a week, and I've been to over 4,000 schools in 31 years, and it's a 1 hour speed painting show. So where I draw inspiration, honestly, it's from kids. When I do speed paintings, I catch their attention, and then in between, I deliver messages, usually with storytelling. And
Hmm.
it's not fictional storytelling, it's real life stories of kids who have been in my audience who have then done amazing things. Not so much talent, but a lot of times just that they're creative or they're being kind
Hmm.
and they do the most amazing things. So, kids, you wouldn't believe when I'm telling the stories. I was just at a show yesterday in Rhode Island. Tomorrow I'm going to be in Massachusetts. A couple days ago I was in Long Island.
Okay.
When I'm talking to them, you have the whole audience of like three, four, 500 kids, and it's almost like I'm telling them a bedtime story because they just all listening to me like this. Because everything I tell them is real. The most amazing, inspirational stories from, again, kids who have been in my audience for the last 31 years. And I show video on my big screen.
Right.
And then so many times these little kindergarten kids, they wrap their arms and they kind of like, as I'm telling the stories, they always seem to sort of like cuddle up together, like little kindergarten kids, or their equivalent in high school. You see like high school girls most of the times, they kind of all put their heads together. And it's almost like I'm lulling them to sleep, but it's like I'm just sharing inspiration of being all you can be and shining as bright as you can and being resilient. working hard, finding things in the world that you like, overcoming challenges. And then kids will come up to me and they'll tell me stories. I get so many letters and cards of
We're
kids
going
then
to
who
talk
say,
about
"This is
that a
what
little
I've
bit.
done."
I
Yeah,
can't
so
wait. We're
they
going to talk about
inspire
that.
me
It's
more than
exciting.
anyone.
I
They
love
inspire
that.
me because the cement hasn't hardened yet. They're so malleable. It's so easy to get them excited. Even with my speed paintings, they lift the roof off the place. It's so loud. But then
Right.
when I deliver very high quality messages, and then again, I have all these, look at these. I didn't even know you were going to talk about it, but look at these are just all these letters that like I just got like in the last week, all from kids and cards. And they all tell me like all the amazing things they've done and the
That's
things they
cool.
want to do.
I definitely want to dig more into that for sure. Katie Y says, thank you for teaching them that their dreams are possible. Katie, what I'll tell you is what was amazing in doing my research after I met Rob, and I'll tell everybody honestly, when I was down at the festival, I didn't know of Rob. And I honestly was going by his stand. And when artists are talking to other people, I don't engage because I believe that's their time to do it. But Rob was working with a young man who wants to be an artist, and his mom was there, and they were having this long discussion. And I stopped to look at Rob's Iron Man piece. And then my ears heard the most amazing thing of inspiration. Here was an artist who was one of Disney's fine artists selected to be at the Festival of the Arts, who's incredibly successful. You can see from what he was doing. Yet he was taking the time to help this young person who inspired to be an artist, giving him all kinds of suggestions. You remember that conversation that you were having right beforehand? It was an amazing thing. I love that. Um,
Yeah, there were a few. I remember when you were there, there was also someone who wanted to be a musician. Do you
right?
remember that
That
guy
same,
also?
yep, he came up also. You had two of them while I was there, and
So
he was,
basically, yeah,
you know,
the most popular demographic I get when it's that Disney Festival of the Arts are parents who bring their kids to meet a Disney artist because that child wants to become an artist
become
or
an
work for
artist.
Disney or work for Pixar or whatever.
Hmm.
So the greatest thing I think that I do, and I just do it kind of normally, is I don't want to talk about myself. I want to talk about, tell me about you. What do you dream of doing? And of course, then like the visitors of Disney light up because I have so much interest in I want to hear about them.
Well, there you
And then
go.
you're like, oh
Nice.
my gosh, we thought we would just say hi to you and everything like that. But, I'll be like, families will say, like, should my child go to art school? I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know you. I said, but follow your heart.
Follow your
What
heart.
does your heart say? If
Right.
you go to art school and all of a sudden you realize this is not for me, maybe your heart's trying to tell you something. I said,
Well,
so all I'm saying is that's what I did. I followed my heart. And I just love inspiring kids because, again, I have kids from the festival from 2 years ago, one in particular, and her mom says she really wants to work for Disney. Right now, she was working at a gift shop doing monogramming on like
okay.
probably t-shirts. And then this past festival, the mom says she got it. She's a Disney artist now. She's part of a team that has done paintings in the lobby of the Floridian. She
That's
says you were a
awesome.
big reason why she was inspired to keep going and never give up. And I said, I remember that from 2 years ago. And then
I
she
love
did
it.
it.
I love
The
it.
paintings which they have done now in that Floridian
They're beautiful.
lobby. I don't know how much she did because she was part of a team, but she worked on it.
Hey, that's inspiring. Nice work, pal. Says we subscribed and Rob did speed painting at our school and it was amazing. There you go. Another live
Yeah,
touch right there. Covering Jen's
thank you.
questions, Jen wanted to ask you. She said that it's clear that your intuition, plays a meaningful role in your rituals and your creative process. For our viewing audience, could you elaborate on how your intuition supports you and guides you in developing and enhancing your creativity?
Yeah, what's funny is I was just talking about it a second ago. Is I follow my heart. Most people would not trust that, and they'll say you need to go to college, you need to be realistic, you need to figure out what the job market is. How likely are you then to get a job to then pay back all the college loans? And I'm
Right.
50% on board with that. I'm not 100% of a dreamer. I'm 50% on board with that, but then I'm 50% on board with let's dream and let's follow our hearts. So that's just me. I'm not telling anyone to follow that formula, but I'm very much grounded in like I got to pay bills. We need to make ends meet. I want to
Hmm.
be realistic. But at the same time, there has to be more to life than getting up on a Monday morning saying I hate my job.
Right.
So I followed my heart in a huge way. And the more I follow my heart and risk, say, trying to be an artist full time back when I was
Hmm.
in my 20s,
Right.
it just kept paying off over and over and over. But it was never quick. It was always after years of hard work, years of practice, years of believing.
That's right. Believing in yourself, never giving up. I love that. I love that passion. I love that passion. Well, I'd like to take a couple minutes real quick here and kind of adjust a little bit out, Robin, and I'd like to talk about your art as it appears across various platforms. To begin, could you elaborate a little bit in detail on some of your fine art pieces, specifically the hand painted masterpieces, which are incredible? And then we'd love to hear about your strategies and creative process you use from start to finish to kind of bring your pieces to life.
Sure. So everything you've shown so far has all been hand painted. I don't do any digital art, even though I do know how.
Correct.
Everything you've shown so far is hand painted. The only exception is I think in the future you might show some of my pointillism
Yes.
mosaics, which we'll
Yes.
talk about that in a bit. But I
Yes.
don't I don't believe there's anything on any of my platforms which is digital. I use digital to sometimes come up with concepts.
Okay.
I'll map it out using, my iPad and Procreate, and you can have the Apple Pen, and I can draw things and move
Right.
them. I'll use that for the conceptualization process. But what you see there, the Mickey Minnie, that's my very first Disney fine art masterpiece from a little more than 10 years ago. So with that, I couldn't copy anything from a movie. I couldn't copy anything from a theme park. So that horse-drawn carriage in the castle, it's all original. I created, I imagined it.
It's beautiful.
So that took a lot of research. Thank you. I took a lot of research, horse-drawn carriages and so forth. And I wanted it to just be this really innocent, pure expression of friendship between Mickey and Minnie.
Hmm.
And
I love
they're
that.
going into the ball. They're going into the ball, of course. So that one there, it actually took me 2.5 years. And I remember my boss is like, is there anything we can do to help you go a little faster? But it was my first fine art masterpiece, so it had to be a home run. It couldn't be weak because I didn't want to be let go after my very first assignment. So I
Right.
needed to hit it out of the park. And they didn't give me a deadline, so I took my time. So that took 2.5 years, not to
Wow.
paint, but it took me probably a year and a half to drive an entire
Concept.
3 lane binder of just sketches and concepts, all paper and pencil, all the wheels and the spokes and even all the balusters going up that staircase, because
That's
they
what
said you
Katie just
can't
said.
copy a stair
Look,
they said you can't copy a staircase from a museum because those balusters, they could be copyrighted. So if you notice the balusters, if you were to zoom in, the bottom half is like a chalice and the top half of each baluster is a chess piece called a pawn.
pawn.
So I
Right.
made
The
my own
pawn.
little balusters.
I love it. Well, Katie Wide picked up on that. The details on the staircase. She's in love. There you go. Right
Yeah,
there.
thank you.
That's amazing. Well, you mentioned pointillism, and actually, that was one of Jen's focus points that she wanted to hit on. Was pointillism has become a remarkable and successful hallmark of your entire portfolio, and your innovative use of unconventional materials. Which is, guys, if you don't know about this, you're about to get educated. I got so excited when I learned about this. Like crayons and even gumballs, it's just truly spectacular. Could you share with our audience a bit more about the unique techniques on how you use them to create such incredible works of art? And we're going to pump through a couple of them here while Rob's talking a little bit.
Well, yeah, that's Tom Brady. That's back in his heyday. But if you notice, I'm creating the mosaic with kids because there's a school the next town over. They're like, Rob, we have an art week every year, one whole week, no classes. The kids just go to art workshops and presentations for the whole week. I'm like, what?
That's
So they
crazy.
said, what can you do for the whole week? I said, well, wait a minute. I do a 1 hour speed painting show. They're like, yeah, but we want you to be like the artist in residence for a whole week. So I'm like,
Wow.
what do I do for a week? So then I'm like, bing. So I thought of this idea where we set a world record here. What is it? I can't remember how many crayons, like close to 20,000
It
crayons.
was almost 20 some thousand, I believe. Yeah.
And of course, what you're seeing is just the tips of the crayons as dots. So
Right.
pointillism, of course, is a mosaic made up of dots. So it's pointillism because there are like 20,000 points of the crayon. But the greatest part is, if you can see, is that I have the kids help me and they don't know what it's going to be. So I remember when I did his collar, these two boys are like, they're two hockey sticks. And then the whole school's like, it's a hockey painting. He's doing two hockey sticks. And I don't tell them what it is until, of course, then it starts to,
Till it shows itself.
reveal.
That's amazing to think that that is over 20,000 crayon, the points, the tip of a crayon that came to be an amazing piece of art. And if I remember correctly, God, I hate that I love this guy. TB12 actually sent a letter or something, didn't he? Over with this with the
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I wanted to make sure that he saw it. So his people said he saw it. He loves it. We're going to send a letter. Actually, the Patriots main office went to the unveiling and they gave a team photo to every kid in the whole school. That was
That's
really
awesome.
nice of them to do
That's
that.
very cool.
And but Tom couldn't make it. Actually, I couldn't even make it during the unveiling. I was
Oh,
traveling, but then he wrote that nice letter to the kids, and in that letter it's like you showed resilience, you showed grit, you showed determination, hard work, patience, and then you created a masterpiece. So he got
love it.
all those values correct of believing in yourself.
Now, this is Gumballs, and I believe that's is that Taylor, I believe?
Yes, that's in a museum now in the Netherlands. That was a
Wow.
Ripley's Believe It or Not. It was a Ripley's Believe It or Not international contest. You had to create artwork out of household things.
Okay.
So someone used paper clips, someone did little washers, screws, nuts, and bolts to create a sculpture. So that those are all gumball, real gumballs.
Think about that, guys. Gumballs as you're watching. Debbie says Rob's artwork feels like you can touch it and feel like you're actually there. That is a great compliment
Yeah,
there, Miss Debbie Bernfeld.
yeah, that's nice. But you know what else is nice is if you get really close to the mosaic, like you see in one of your photos, all you see is dots. And it's
Right.
6 feet by 6 feet. But then as you walk further and further back, the magic of pointillism is that your eye blends the dots. And then you start to see flesh tones. Like there's no flesh tones in there. All it is hot pink, white, yellow, and so forth. But as you get, like, there's no blonde colored gumballs. But as you get further and further back,
There it
your
is.
eye blends the dots and it's like, oh, it looks real. But the magic is that it's huge.
As Jen and I were preparing for this, she kind of really helped me with pointillism because this was a newer point to me. I love art and I'm learning more about it. And your work today, over this last month has inspired me because I have a whole new respect for these pieces and how they come together. Like this one, I believe, is this the one that is push pins? Is Bieber push pins, or was that?
No, that's light bright.
That's
Light
Light
bright.
Bright. Okay, yeah, I knew we had more Light Bright. There's a more Light Bright coming at the end of this interview. That is spectacular, guys. So this was Light Bright, but you've also done pushpin work too, correct?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's actually hard. I would never do that with the kids because you accidentally like poke yourself with those
Right.
sharp push pins. You pick up a handful of them and somewhere along
Kind
the
of
lines
tough.
you start poking yourself. Now see with Justin Bieber, there's no brown in there. His hair looks brown, right?
Right.
But that's the
How did you
magic
do
again
that?
of
That's amazing. I didn't even think
yeah,
about
well,
that.
I've got yeah, well, it's a grid technique, and I've mastered it. And the man who invented pointillism, I kind of think this is curious. The
Okay.
man who popularized it back in the 1800s, his last name was Surette. My last name is Surette. So
Correct.
think about that. Surette. I love that. It's almost
Very
like
close. I love
may-
it. Well, pointillism is
maybe
an
he's helping me.
Maybe he is. Pointillism is an amazing part of Rob's work, guys. And as you go and spend time on his website, Debbie's been dropping his website in there, and you go through and look at some of his work. As you take a look at on social media, you'll see these are amazing things that he can do. And I really hope some of you will be planning next year to go down. Rob will announce it on his social media, so make sure you're following his Instagram and all. Hopefully, Rob will be back down at either Florida or in California, and you'll see him there as the signed artist doing his time there. And you go out, you can get a piece of his art, get it signed, and talk with the man himself, which would be absolutely awesome. Give him a follow on that YouTube channel. I've seen a bunch of people subscribing tonight, and I really, really
Thank you.
appreciate you supporting our guests tonight because you'll be able to keep up with them. Katie says, as a photographer, it almost looks like the color of noise. So cool. As the color of the noise. That's very awesome. Katie Y, thank you for being here. and pushing it. All right, let's head over to next question here. I wanted to ask you about this I absolutely love. I've watched so many of your speed painting videos the last couple of days. Speed painting creations, everybody, are considered by artist critics as an excellent exhibition of the subjective skill of a painter, as the time constraint requires efficient rendering of form of detail, because you have a time parameter that you're doing this to work the speed painting in. Rob, with you being recognized as one of the top speed painters, can you share with us your perspective on how you come to create your work via this entertaining form of artwork?
I don't know if I can explain how I do it as much as it is why I do it, is that it
Okay.
excites the audience. Because if it was a video that you've seen, you could have thought to yourself, he could have done 10 takes or done some clever editing. But when it's a live performance, and those particular ones you're showing now are from an annual golf tournament that I'm always a part of, and then they auction them after, and all the money goes towards finding a cure for childhood cancer.
I love it.
And the exciting thing is when that music is done in 5 minutes, that painting better be done and it better look good. Or the audience is going to be like, don't ever hire him back.
Yeah.
So
Immediate
with
reaction.
yeah, so there's Arnold Palmer. And of course, as I'm painting, I've learned to not make it obvious at first. Because with that Arnold Palmer one, it's very shadowy. Because when I paint on a black canvas, you don't need to apply as much paint because the black then save space for the shadows. Same thing with Ray Charles. So in other words, when I'm painting, they don't know what it is, and a lot of
No.
times it's not until the last, several moments that they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's Arnold Palmer!" Or it's they knew it was Ray Charles because of the music. But it's exciting because I share in that excitement with the audience. I mean, the adrenaline is just pumping in me, and of course, I've practiced.
Right.
Those two, I never painted those before. I practiced those just for that event because those were the requests by the people who hired me. So the adrenaline, I'm like, oh my gosh, like the concentration, it's like a high because when it actually comes out good
Right.
and the audience erupts, it's like it's so fulfilling.
And if you're
And
new to
and it
this,
proves
go ahead. No, please,
yeah,
Rob,
and
go
it
ahead.
proves it proves to them that like I can't believe I just saw that. The impossible maybe is possible. That's what I'm trying to
Right.
suggest.
That's what you're teaching, quietly teaching, which is amazing. Surf Bum John, Jeff Kahn, and Debbie Thuner, welcome in, guys. Nice work, pal, as well. Welcome in. The amazing thing about it is the music hits, and you're engulfed in this energy that Rob creates. And he's right in the fact that as you're sitting there watching, I'm watching videos. I could not figure out on some of them, what is he doing? What is he doing? And then you see this. It kind of like it's a flow of color, and then all of a sudden it just explodes, and it's incredible. And the time that you're able to do that, and the fact that on some of that you're even using your hands for some of the work without a brush or anything, just dude, it is absolutely spectacular. I was
Thank you.
I just can't I can't stress enough, guys. Go over to his YouTube channel and watch a couple of these videos come together. You're just gonna be blown away like I was. So that's cool, and I hope that I would love for if you're ever down here this way and closer to Maryland, you're doing one of these things, an event or something. You let me know because I would come out in
Oh,
a
sure.
heartbeat to support you and watch that.
Thank you.
As we prepared for this, Jen was very passionate about talking about something that she loves, and that is to do with the live shows and seeing artists do perform live. One of your most passionate and enduring projects over the past 31 years, guys, and if you missed it earlier, Rob was saying he's been doing this for 31 years, has been the Amazing Hero Art Show, which you performed, ready, guys, 4,000 plus times. 4,000 plus, not four, not 400, 4,000 plus times. This incredible show has touched lives for thousands. For our audience, could you share the story behind this powerful project, and kind of what it's meant to you, and those so many people that you've reached?
First, I need to say there was a man on the Arsenio Hall show who did something similar.
Okay.
And when I was 18, 19 years old, my friend videotaped, he recorded it with his VCR. And he goes,
Okay.
Rob, you got to see what I just recorded last night on Arsenio Hall. So we watched this guy and he speed painted um, Jimi Hendrix, and it was
Oh,
incredible. I found that man at Tufts University where he was doing an outdoor spring fling, and I didn't even go to that university, but I
Okay.
found him, and through the wrought iron fence, I said, "You inspired me so much. Can I do something similar?" He goes, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to go to schools and inspire kids." He goes, "Who are you going to paint?" I'm like, "I don't know, Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King." And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Good luck with that. There's room for two of us." So I need to say that he inspired me
Oh, love it.
to then go in my own direction. So
Okay. This
just to clarify, like I didn't make that up.
I love that. Well, let me ask you this: with looking at the Lincoln painting, the conceptual blue behind Lincoln makes that painting for me just jump off of there. Is that it's just is that a color touch that goes in with your painting that is part, of your repertoire that you do? Because I've noticed a little bit of that in some of the colors, some of the paintings, and this Lincoln one rocks.
Thank you. It has to be at that halo around their perimeter because again, it's on a black canvas.
Right.
And if you notice, there's very little brushstrokes of his hair. Martin Luther King, you can't quite see, but you don't. I don't paint his hair at all. I just do the outline around his head,
Oh, I didn't realize
which
that.
again, that halo effect is kind of a cool thing, but it's because it's on a black canvas. But what you don't see in this picture is that I'm painting this in a dark auditorium with one spotlight on the easel, and then I have
Right.
my video screen. So we are seeing photos now with all the lights on after the show. But basically, when all the lights are off, it draws the audience in, and they're like, "What is this guy doing?" And the music and
The
the
music's
video.
going and
It's very,
everything. Yeah.
it's
It's pretty
dramatic.
amazing.
Yeah, it's
And
supposed to really.
aren't some of these pieces that you've done, like Lincoln and some of the other ones, hung in like the Peabody and some other schools and stuff where you've done stuff? Aren't they hanging in really nice places?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, thousands of them. I mean, most every school in all of Massachusetts has at least one of my paintings.
That's
So
amazing.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. But leaving the paintings, and they're not free. The school decides to purchase, and I never push that sale. But
Right.
schools are like, we want the kids to remember. We want them to go down the hall and every day remember your messages and your inspiration.
I love it because it is just as much about the inspiration and the message that you're trying to deliver to empower the youth through your artwork. And I absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. Let's jump down here for a minute because I think this is kind of cool. Uh, Rob, your artwork has been featured on some of the most iconic and influential programs over the past 60 years of my life. I'm not 60 yet, but 50. I got a year or two on you, 56. We've seen you featured on the Good Morning America show, the Today Show, the Tonight Show with Jay Leno right there, Oprah Winfrey, the queen of daytime television. That way, from your perspective, what has it meant? And that's just a few guys. That's not all. From your perspective, what has it meant for you to have your art showcased on these legendary platforms, and how that exposure influenced your journey as an artist?
Well, it was amazing. First of all, they didn't quite showcase my art. I speed painted right on the show. So I think that's probably what you meant, but I want to
Yeah,
clarify that. Like
showcased your artistic style and how what you can do.
yeah, like I performed live. Oprah wasn't live, that was recorded. Jay Leno was recorded. Good Morning America twice live. Today Show twice live. So, I mean, like to be there in front of, whatever it was, 15 million people viewing live, I'm like, oh my gosh. That's not my comfort zone because
Right.
I'm not used to being on TV. And, it's overwhelming and like my heart beats so fast, but they all came out well. So what it means to me is it was a publicity stunt and it gave me credibility because
Yeah.
ever since then, the Oprah effect is such where like if people are like, okay, where have you been? What have you done? I'm like, well, I was on the Oprah Winfrey Show, and they would always be like, say no more. If you were on Oprah, there's no need for us to question,
Right.
how legitimate are you?
Kind of like
So that's
Carson with a comic when he'd call him over to the stand. Oprah, when she highlights your art or your book, if you're an author, it can make you overnight. When I first saw that you were featured on there, I was like, wow. And then to look at the list that comes behind it, I love the fact that millions of people had the opportunity to see what you can do and to open up a style of art that's really not known as I would think as broad as others, but is spectacular because, for most artists, one of the things I loved about the speed painting and watching all the videos, you can look at an artist painting and see it after the fact, and you don't have a clue as to what all went into it to get there, unless they have a video in the process. With you, it's a blank canvas. Then all of a sudden it's some colors. You got music going and people getting into it. It's like a party. And then all of a sudden, boom, this comes out. So I love that. Absolutely amazing. And Russell so. Well, you know what? You there's one of the stories that we wanted to talk about, and I know Jen was very big on this. I love this one, Wonder Woman and Kobe. My God, unbelievable, guys! Check out that artwork as we're talking. Um, One of the things that you've done is you shared an incredible story about a sixth grade girl from rural upstate Maine who was deeply moved by one of your events and later went on to become a missionary, which is a sacrifice in life, which is incredible. For our audience, could you please share the story a little bit for that remarkable outcome that followed?
Yeah, it was maybe about 20 years ago. Rumford, Maine. I'm like, never heard of it.
Me
And of
neither.
course, anyone who's been way up in Maine, it is one of the most peaceful parts of like all of America. It's just really, it's really something. It's a nice little nook of America.
Hmm.
And she was probably, I'm going to say sixth grade.
Okay.
And I did my speed painting presentation. And part of my show, always, among all these heroes who I speed paint, is Mother Teresa. It has nothing to do with religion or anything like that. But on the video screen, I showcase all these acts of kindness, people of all different ethnicities helping each other, kindness, helping the homeless. It's a very moving part of my show. It's the humanitarian segment of my show. And she was
Right.
moved so much that her mom would email me like almost every year saying Kelly was so moved that she would say, Rob inspired me to one day travel the world and help out at orphanages.
I love that.
And I just heard of that over and over as she grew up. And of course, now I'm lifelong friends with the whole family. But when she became a nurse, she found an orphanage in Ghana, Africa, traveled
Wow.
all by herself to Ghana, Africa, and said, I want to help. In this particular orphanage, I just want to say, the founder rescues kids who are going to be killed because they were born with disabilities. They call them spirit children,
Spirit children.
and they believe that it's a bad omen for the whole
Hmm?
village that this child was born with a disability, that they're going to be executed. So the founder of this orphanage saves all these kids' lives and rescues them all, and then keeps them forever in the orphanage unless they get adopted. But Kelly went there, and I was so proud of her. She's like, Rob, she says, you inspired me so much. She goes, you're one of the big reasons why I always wanted to travel the world. And then I said, Kelly, I'm like, it's just so unbelievable. Tell me more about it. She goes, well, I'm going again next summer. Do you want to come? I'm like, oh, I would love to, but I can't. So I said, what I'm going to do, get me a photo of every single one of the kids,
Right.
and I will draw a picture for each of them as a gift. So she says, well, they don't have cameras over there, so they had to find a volunteer who then could take photos of them all with an iPhone. Um, One volunteer even brought a mirror one year, and the kids had never seen their reflection in a mirror before. I
Oh,
mean, that just shows
wow.
how it just shows how underprivileged they are.
Right.
So then eventually, when I got all 65 of the kids and I did a portrait for free, it took about 4 hours for each of the 65 portraits. And then we got a volunteer. It wasn't Kelly because she was having a child, couldn't go that summer, but a different volunteer from Denver, Colorado brought them, and they hung them all up around the living room of the orphanage. And they sent me dozens of reactions of the kids walking in, and they just couldn't believe that there they were.
Uh,
Like, kids were jumping, kids who are nonverbal were just visually, like, you could just tell how moved they were, how happy they were, how proud they were. Some kids,
Bob,
again, they couldn't they
uh,
couldn't speak, but I
I,
just wanted them to know. I just wanted them to know that there's always someone who cares. It was an expression of love. It wasn't a publicity stunt. It wasn't a show off. It was me saying thank you to Kelly. I'm trying to inspire kids in my audience. And now here's this particular girl, Kelly. She's my favorite story. Now she's inspiring me. Talk about a full circle moment.
it's a full circle moment. When I first met you, I was um, drawn and overwhelmed by your art. in sitting in the time to get to talk with you in preparation for this and listening to stories like this. I am I am just overwhelmed with your selflessness and the way that you go about yourself and carry yourself as a human being out there trying to help others who also does art, and that's an amazing thing. And again, we talk about Jen talks about this. Amy AJC Amy says, "Awesome and selflessness gift you gave." Yes, Amy, that's a very great way of saying that. Debbie also had a
Thank you.
nice comment and everything. Debbie also said, "What an amazing story that shows that you are one person. How one person action can affect." Others, and you're right, Debbie. Absolutely, wherever it was, it there, right there. I want to highlight it. Great thing. I think it's great. Jen and I talk all the time on this show about how we open the onion up, and this onion that you think might be this little simple onion that you got there that you're going to use, all of a sudden evolves into this, major blooming onion like you see in Outback, and it's happening again tonight with our guests. Make sure you're subscribed. Katie Y says this has me in tears. I love you, Katie. Appreciate you being here tonight and seeing our guests. Do me a favor if you have not yet subscribed to Rob's YouTube channel. He all of his work and all is over there. He's working to get to 1,000. I know. I'd be curious to see where he's at by the end of the night. Hopefully, he's picked up some friends. I see a lot of you connected on his Facebook and his Instagram. Great ways to keep up with him when he's got shows and everything that he's doing. I absolutely encourage that. I want to jump over
Thank
here
you.
and absolutely, I want to talk about this piece. Let's step back in time for a moment and talk about your very first Disney Star Wars fine art piece. This is entitled "I Have You Now," one of my favorite parts in the movie. I absolutely love it. What did it mean to you to paint this iconic scene from Star Wars, and how did it feel to have it selected as a featured work by Disney?
Well, when I first started as a Disney artist, Disney had not bought Star Wars from George Lucas yet. So I was just
That's
painting
right.
classic Disney, like Mickey and Minnie with the horse-drawn carriage. Then they go, Rob, they go, Star Wars is this real hot thing now that Disney has purchased it from George Lucas. Do you want to paint Star Wars? And I'm like, do I want to paint Star Wars? I'm like, this has been a dream of mine since I was a kid. I said, I'm the perfect one. So they said, have at it. But you can still do classic Disney. So I did a Peter Pan somewhere in there. But I mean, it was just one Star Wars painting after another after another. So I like taking some of the most classic, memorable scenes and then giving people a different point of view.
Right.
So we never see this point of view. We see it from the
No.
opposite, from Darth
Right.
Vader's point of view, and he blows up R2D2. So
This is
very
great.
fulfilling.
And this is an amazing piece. And I know we have a lot of Star Wars fans in our audience. And again, Mark Langenkamp, this is great. I knew once I started pulling out the Star Wars stuff that I was going to start drawing some of you guys out with what he can do, and you're going to see more here. If you hang tight to the end of the interview, you're going to see a lot more great Star Wars stuff and how you can acquire that as well. Apologies for not chatting. I've been just mesmerized by the touching stories and the amazing pieces of art. Thank you, Dame Dystopia. Mandy Mary
Yeah,
said this
thank
is
you.
amazing. A ton of nice comments here in the chat. Let's go over here for a second and talk about this. The festival was where I got to meet you for the first time. You've had the blessing to interact directly with those purchasing your art at the International Festival of the Arts, which, as I said, I personally have witnessed. Have these experiences and conversations with Disney fans impacted you as an artist, and what have you taken away from these moments?
Yeah, because you don't even know the story of that girl right there. Oh, go back,
Uh,
go back. That girl Jules right there. I
okay,
did an event at a children's hospital. It's Boston Children's Hospital. It was May the 4th, Star Wars Day.
Star Wars
And
Day.
all these, I'm not affiliated with them, but there's a certain legion of Star Wars actors
Yes.
who then come to hospitals and they dress as the characters.
Uh huh.
Like they're licensed by Disney to be able to do that. I'm not affiliated with that group. It's some sort of legion of
Legion.
Jedi, you know.
Yeah, I know. And those people are amazing because the attention to detail with what they do is ridiculous. It's incredible.
Yeah, so they were all there for Star Wars Day, and then they had me show up with my artwork. And Jules here was a patient of Boston Children's Hospital, and I know she doesn't mind me saying in her family, because I'm now lifelong friends with them too, is she just had a brain tumor removed. She was a patient, and this really kind man, my friend, whose son was cured by Boston Children's Hospital, he says, Rob, I know you're doing this event. Can I donate a huge R2D2 toy, like $75, for each of the kids in all of Boston Children's Hospital?"
That's
So we
amazing.
got the okay for that. She couldn't come down to the auditorium for the event. She was still recovering in her room. So I made sure that every single kid got one of those R2D2 toys. And she's the biggest Star Wars fan in the world. And she was crying, like kind of like that. We thought enough to give her a present. And then I went, this is now in Panera. I met her whole family and I gave her that um, painting with Grogu as another gift.
Right.
Only because if Star Wars is inspiring these kids who are recovering from brain tumors and dealing with cancer and all that, like the artwork is the vehicle. The art, it's the very least you can do, right? Is to share that with these kids because
Absolutely.
I have so many stories of kids who are like, these fictional characters are my will to keep fighting.
I love that. I love that. There's a look at your when that's when you're down there, you can find Rob's work. You can
Yeah,
see
those are
it's
my
amazing.
parents.
And that's your parents? I didn't know that. Okay. That has to
Yeah.
be a proud moment for you to go from, where you were as a youth and starting out art to be standing in Disney, your iconic place, holding to me, which could be one of the best Star Wars pieces of work that I've ever seen. With the
Yeah,
when Boba's coming in to take Luke.
yeah,
It's
full circle moments over and over in this interview. Full circle moments that my parents, you know,
I
they
love
were
it.
probably more proud than I was.
I bet you they were. Fred O'Malley said Rob is such an inspiring person. Our friend Jeff Condon says, at the time you start to think you're a good person, remember Rob Surette is out there. There you go.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
so
see, this is the whole thing. And maybe this is why George Lucas even created Star Wars. It's to inspire people.
yes,
I guess I've never met him, but to use creativity, artwork, fictional characters, a storyline, narrative to inspire people to do what? To be all they can be, to find that inner strength, to just shine as bright as you can, to keep fighting against, cancer or a brain tumor. The artwork is magical because if we took art away from the whole world, people would be shocked as to what the world would be like with no art,
it would
no
be very
design,
bland.
no colors.
Yeah, very bland.
It's life. We need it.
I think George Lucas. To take a step up for a second, I watched. I'm a big Star Wars nut. I'm not a perfect person on Star Wars, but I know a lot, and I've watched a lot of interviews because of like enjoying doing things like this, like we're doing tonight, Rob. And one of the things that George Lucas said, and kind of flows with what you're saying there, he said Star Wars has evolved around one word, four letters: hope. It's the understanding of you're right. He was trying to tell a story that there's hope in everything you do, and sometimes it's bleak, and sometimes your world looks like it's spinning out of control and it looks like you have no
Wow.
way of being successful when the whole world is against you and you're one person as a Jedi fighting an
Wow.
entire thing. But I think it's great that through, again, through the work of theater, and then, here's theater telling us and teaching us about hope and never giving up and always looking for the bright spot. And yet we, look at your stand here with it and not, you got Indy in there, which is, the story of chasing your dreams. And you've got all the Star Wars here and so many parts of the story are here. And then you got, now the Iron Man one of what Tony Stark and that character did, and an actor that I love in Robert Downey Jr. That Iron Man one, guys, that's up there at the top is spectacular. I was flying along in my scooter, and that's the piece that pulled me in. I was like, whoa. And then I saw the Star Wars, and I about went into tears because it was all me. It was everything I love.
Oh,
So
thank you.
absolutely.
This is the original. That's the
Oh my
original.
God, look at that. It looks like a picture. That's how good it is.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I
incredible.
take my time. For whatever reason, the way my brain is, I love detail. It's so satisfying. So I use the smallest brush that you can purchase,
Yeah.
and I just take my time and I just go for like, 250 hours or whatever.
Wow. That's incredible. So roughly 250 hours to do a piece like that.
Yeah, well, this was one of the quick ones because the background is pretty simple.
Pretty
Some of them
straight.
take 1,000 hours.
Oh my Lord. I love it. And there's a lot of nice comments in the chat right now. Dane Dystopia said, "Hands off, Iron Man is mine." Debbie Bernfeld said, "Wow, just wow." Mark Langenkamp said, "Wow, I know I've said that already, but just wow." AJC Amy said,
Thank
"Wow,
you.
that's cool." A lot of nice comments coming from out there. Let's jump down here.
That's very nice.
Jen wanted to talk a little bit about if you could share how impactful we touched a little bit earlier in the show, but if you could just a little bit more on how impactful it is to receive feedback through the mail or however you receive it from those who have experienced your performances and your artwork, especially the heartfelt messages you receive from our youth. What does that mean to you as an artist and a performer, and how does it inspire you to do more?
Well, it's unbelievable because that's the main thing I want to do is I want to help people. I want to inspire people. Why do I want to do that? I don't know. I don't know any other way. That's the way my family has always been is we're all mostly like teachers and nurses. We love helping. And when I do my school speed painting show, sometimes there's not a dry eye in the place. And the
I believe it.
reason for that is it's powerful. It's a combination of the artwork, the music, and then my messages and my stories that I convey in between. But the climax of my school show, and the music is at a climax, the videos are at a climax. I'm like, you matter more than you think. You're more special than you think. You're smarter than you think. You're on earth for a reason. So
Yeah.
you have to shine as bright as you possibly can. And then the music comes to like a crescendo, and then I disappear in the dark of the stage. And then everyone's just like, and then you got little kindergarten kids who are crying, and you got high school kids who are crying. And why are they crying is because it's messages that maybe they haven't heard in quite that powerful, dramatic way, but in a sincere way. If
Right.
if I was fake, if I was fake, it wouldn't be any good. But it's sincere. I'm like, and then I show them as me as an example. I show them a video of a drawing by me every year since I was 3, and it's on my YouTube channel
It's on
and
go.
Facebook.
Yes, I'm glad you said. Hold on one sec. Time out, guys. We putting his link into his YouTube channel. Go watch that video. That video impacted me the other day when I was doing this whole thing. I was almost a little emotional watching the change. You guys got to go check that out. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I feel
thank you. Well, I got the idea because other artists have done that on the internet. I'm like, my parents have all my drawings over there in 2 scrapbooks since I was 3 years old. So I put it together. But I say to the kids, last year, these 5th graders came up to me in June and they said, Rob, it's not fair. You were born talented. We weren't. Not fair. And I'm like, no, like I wasn't born talented. They're like, yes, you were. So I went home, and then in about a week, I created this video that I wish those kids could see. And it's one drawing every year since I was 3 until the age of 53. I said, you guys, I was not born talented. My drawings were average. I said, but I discovered the most amazing superpowers. I found something that I liked. I practiced only about once a week. And my grandmother used to say, every year you're getting better. Your secret weapon will be is if you never quit. So then I just keep showing, and they don't really get what's the word? Crazy good until I was
it.
like in my late 30s.
Right as you built upon it and
Late
everything. I love it.
30s, I got crazy good, and you can see that. But I'm like, you guys, I waited a long time. That's a long time to be
Yes, it
working
is.
hard. But I
And
found
not give
joy
up.
in it,
I love it.
and
Dame
I followed
Dystopia
my
says,
heart.
I subbed to Rob. Can't wait to watch his content. Thank you, Dame. Appreciate you doing that as well. Well, let's
Thank
get
you.
over to here real quick and talk about this. This is incredible, guys. Let's listen to this. Sit back and just think about this for a second. We were remiss if we didn't do this interview, if we didn't take a moment to acknowledge this incredible achievement. Back in 2011, you earned a Guinness Book of World Record acknowledgement for the world's largest light bright. Yes, that's right. What you're looking at is light bright, like we did as kids, and I could barely get a stick man. Look at this amazing piece of work. And since then, you've gone on to set 7 world records with your extraordinary pointillism mosaics. I should say it right. Could you share with your audience a little bit about the recognitions and this piece and just, oh my God, wow.
Well, I didn't get hired to do that. When I was a kid, I was 10 years old. I wanted to set a Guinness World Record. So I decided to run around my house 100 times and say, surely no 10-year-old has done that. And I told my parents, I said, I just ran around the house 100 times. My dad's like, That's how kids get heart attacks.
Oh my. Oh my.
I I didn't train, I just ran, and it was, like, really hard. So, I didn't get a Guinness World Record for that, but now as, like you said, about 15 years ago, I wanted to set a Guinness World Record, and that was a response to 9/11. And if you notice, all the faces on the left are American, all the faces on the right are people from everywhere else in the world, and we're all looking at each other in friendship. So
Wow.
I did that just for my own personal gratification, and I called Hasbro and I said, "Can you donate 1,000,000 light bright pegs to me for free?" They're like, "Okay, wait a minute. Everyone wants a donation. Who are you and what is this all about?" And I said, "Well, I was on the Oprah Winfrey Show." And they're like, "Oprah, say no more." And they shipped them to me within 1 week,
Wow.
and that took me a year to complete, and it's still in my garage in 5 pieces, but the only time we wheeled it out was to have this, photo taken because you can't tell, but it's 5 vertical pieces on wheels, and then we put them
Wow.
all together.
It's
So
still
it's just
incredible,
for the
Rob. I mean,
publicity.
it's how many
Yeah,
pieces? Do you
but the
remember how many
meaning
pieces
but
were in that? Do you
yeah,
remember? It was
504,000.
504,000 light bright pieces, guys.
Yeah,
That's
half
absolutely
a million
spectacular.
pieces. Yeah, half a million, but, again, yes, I was trying to do a publicity stunt. Yes, I was trying to do a world record, but the most important thing is I wanted to give the world a visual, gift, is, again, we're all looking at each other in friendship. You
I
don't
love it.
look too much different than me. We have more similarities, I believe, than we have differences, and let's,
Let's lay
celebrate
up.
that.
Well, one of your fellow New Englanders up there says, I get out of bed without fall. I got out of bed without falling down. Meanwhile, Rob is setting world records." So,
Yeah, well, you're all really nice, but you know what else I wanna say is this is a joy for me. Yes, my fingers hurt so badly after a while, and then eventually I got calluses and didn't
right.
hurt anymore. But what I'm saying is this is a joy. My great aunt used to do, like, needlepoint for hours and, like, weeks and weeks and give us all these beautiful gifts like tablecloths and everything. And it's a joy for me also. I could do this every day, all day, and I do. I do this even on my days off. I need to create because when I'm creating, it's fulfilling. It just makes me so happy. And people will be like, "Oh, it's tedious," or "You must have a lot of patience." Well, I guess I do have patience, but I'm seeing the end result in my mind.
I love it. I love it. All right, guys, I want to highlight real quick here. We've been dropping links throughout the night. They're all in the chat. If you're watching live or watching on the replay, you can click on those links and go right to our guests without a problem. Rob can be found on Instagram with over 1,400 followers. He's featured over on Facebook. You can keep up with him over there. He's TikToking it and keeping up on TikTok. So that link's available if you're in TikTok. We've worked to get his YouTube. I don't know. What's his YouTube number at? Can one of my moderators let us know? Did his YouTube number jump tonight? I hope it did. You can find him, Rob Surette, and his amazing hero art on YouTube, everybody. His website has a whole lot for you to go over and do across everything over there. So much to look into, see what he's doing, keep up with him, follow his website, keep up on him. He can be found on the Disney art page, which we have the link for that. We're dropping that in there. Now, guys, let me be honest with you. I'm going to take Rob off the screen for a second. Here's a bigger look at these pieces of art that are available right now if you wanted to go purchase and put into your home. The one on the left, the Luke Skywalker one is incredible. Everybody remembers the scene with R2 and C3PO when they're going to find the Jawas basically. 409. Cool. We picked up some subs tonight. That's great. The I am your father scene, the Mando scene with Grogu. God, look, the cockpit of the Falcon, and of course Rob's first piece. They're all available right now over on the page here where you can just go in, click, get your pieces of art and get it there. Or you can find Rob at one of the upcoming events that he'll be at. And speaking of that, on his website, you can keep up with all his bookings and where it is, whether it's localized in one of the school events or one of the bigger signings on there. Following him on Instagram is a great way to keep up with that as well. Before we finish up with our guests tonight, I'm going to do things just a little bit differently because it's easier. I want to highlight April 22nd. We will have Bo Hufford coming to Dialogues, sit down with us and talk about all the interesting work that he does. Bo, totally different style of art. We'll be talking with him about everything that he does in just a little bit. So make sure you put it on your calendar for the 22nd. Look at that. That is, there's two more pieces of Rob's Satchmo. That's pretty impressive. That's gotta love it, Rob. Um, it's been an honor to sit here with our guests tonight. We always finish up with a final thought of the night. Rob, I'm going to throw it to you first. Final thought of the night from your side of the art table.
I think it's fulfilling when you try to be all you can be. So many people, it's fear that they don't want to try that musical instrument. They don't want to maybe go back to school and get a degree or aim for that high job or
Hmm.
exercise or take better care of yourself. I feel like it's fear that blocks so many people. Maybe kids have a little less fear. Maybe that's why I love going to schools, but it feels really good to just try to maximize what you have and to just to, like I say, be all you can be. It's a very simple message, but like I push myself, and it's been one of the greatest things I've ever done. It's taking risks, and calculated risks, but just really just trying to think that maybe at the end of my life, I look back and say, I gave it all that I had. And
I
I
love it.
find a lot of fulfillment in that. And that's what I try to share with kids is take what you have and just try to maximize. Take your talents as far as you can go. See how far you can go. Kids will come up to me and say, I'm going to be the next, Tom Brady. And I'll say, okay, well, I'm not going to say you can't. Take it as far as you can go.
I love it. I love that message. Rob, for my final thought, with my situation, when 4 or 5 years ago, when I was taken from a normal life of everything doing to joining the disabled community and laying in a bed and just wondering if I even wanted to live, I had to find ways to find that courage, to find that reason to drive forward, the reason to want to do it. And I believe that, you know, through this time, my goal has been always to help others and kind of,
Wow.
different passion than the way you do it, but also similar. What I will tell you is through these last 2 weeks of doing this segment of our show, between the humanitarianism and the love and the incredible heart that both you and Noah have, it has enlightened me to drive me to even want to do more. It is empowering me to want to help others. And I can't tell you how much it means to me that you would take the time to do over 4,000 shows, that you would take the time knowing who you are and what you're doing in the Disney community as an artist, for me to sit there and watch you work with people live. And I had never even met you. I was getting ready to say hello for you for the first time. And I was touched in that avenue. And then more as Molly and I always say, and Jen would be saying it right now if it wasn't my fault. She had some technical stuff. She's not here tonight. Um, she would be telling you the same thing, that man, this onion that you opened. My challenge to you as my friend is, God, don't stop. Please keep doing it, because the lives that you're touching today are going to fulfill so many dreams for those kids and people in the future. And I'm so
I
grateful
hope so.
for your artwork and your humanitarianism, guys. If you're loving what you're doing, you enjoyed the interview, share out this interview, let more people know about it. If you followed Rob on his social media, is great. If you know somebody that might like his art and want to do that, please do me a favor. And look, there's Grogu right there. Please, let's get his YouTube channel out there, and hopefully maybe you'll even see Rob stop in on a Friday night news and merch one time, and we'll hang out with us. Thank you for your time with us tonight, my friend. Hang tight backstage. I'll talk to you in a minute,
You're the
ladies and
best.
gentlemen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Disney wise, I'll be back tomorrow night. Disney Insomniacs, 10:45, with another game show of Two Truths and a Lie with another great Disney artist. Epcot Forever will be in with us tomorrow night. That's going to be a blast. Friday night back with news and merch. And go over and check out Rob's videos as soon as this stream is over. He will love it. We'll talk to you next time. Jen will be back. We'll be doing some more dialogues right here on the channel. Good night, Rob. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
We
you,
will talk to
everyone.
you all. We'll talk to you all real soon. Bye bye.